Hello everyone, dear Professor Fabiano and Professor Aline. Thanks for your invitation for me to participate in the Catalyst event. I am Fengbo Chen, Associate Professor from South China Agriculture University. Currently, I work in the Department of Agricultural Economics. Our university located in Guangzhou, the largest city in southern China. I hope you will visit this city and our university in the future. I'm very happy to introduce my some research about rice industry. Today my topic is about rural migration and agriculture change. A case study for rice farmers in southern China. This topic is a little bit different from the event's topics. China's 4 modernizations. But actually, modernization in agriculture is a very important of it. Today, my topic will include 2 parts. Firstly, I will introduce the rural migration and the mechanization in agriculture in China from micro level. Secondly, I will introduce rural migration and agriculture change for the household survey data. I hope I could show you some information of rice industry in China and what change happened in the past 10 years. As you know, China with huge populations, and it always been seen a peasant society, which made of large amount of small peasant households. Actually, it's a fact before 1990s, but after that, as the enormous large-scale migration from rural to city, or from inland to coast areas, the Chinese societies begin to change. According to the National Bureau of Statistics of China, in 2020s, the number of the migrant workers reached 286 million. It is a huge number compared with other countries. The employment in agricultural sectors decreased since 1990s. At the same time, the employment in secondary industry or the service sectors increased, which means the large amount of huge number of the rural people moved to the secondary or the service sectors. We ever conducted a survey in 2006, which consists more than 10,000 households in Sichuan and Hubei provinces. Those provinces with huge rural peoples. From those data, we found that most peoples aged from 20 to 45 were migrants. You could see this graph. And at the same time, the elderly and children were left behind people. The rural households are divided into 2 parts. One part in rural areas, the old parents were working the agriculture sectors or low farm sector, caring for the children and the house, also for the land, who managed the land. And for the young couples, they worked in the cities. They could get cash income from the factory work or do business by themselves. Those 2 parts sustained the total household livelihood. The old people support the rural part to to support the basic food safety for the household, and also they have a living place for the whole families, and the young people get cash income in the city to support the increased living cost for housing, education, healthcare, or others. So this is the popular mode for the most of rural household. And the rural migration from micro levels, the rural migration support the industry and city development, urban development since early 1980s. But after nearly 40 years, this movement began to reshape its resourcing place, especially for the rural areas and agriculture sectors. You could see this graph. It shows the wage level change since 1990s. So this is wage level in primary in agriculture sectors. It increased substantially from nearly $2,000 to nearly $8,005 per year in agriculture sectors, nearly more than 4 times. And in the secondary world service sectors, the wage level increased more. And the high cost or the opportunity cost of rural labors also lead to change of agriculture sectors. You could see the number of small-sized tractors increased continually since 2005 or 2006, and the medium or large tractors and also for the combined harvester became more and more popular. With large machine and small-sized land holding lead to the development of agricultural service market. Some farmers can buy the machine with government subsidy. They could supply the service for others locally or crossing regions, especially for the harvesting. You could see the mechanization status for the rice production in China. More than 90 rice land is plowed and harvested by machine, and in some places the drone were used for the seeding or the spraying pesticides. But 10 years ago, harvest machine is not so popular. Most farmer work is done by hand with small-sized tractors. Next, I will introduce something about our data. Those data connections were supported by the different foundations, such as the National Science Foundation of China in 2009 and National Social Science Foundation in 2016, and we also get support from European Union Commission Framework Project in 2019, and we conducted surveys in 10 vineyards in southern China. Those research sites are Hunan, Hubei, Jiangxi, Anhui, Guangdong provinces. Those provinces are main rice growing areas in China, and we collected information about household demographic, rural labor migration, low farmer income, land information, and also about rice production. The land information including plot size, quality, and transfer status, cropping patterns, and rice production information included yield, establishment methods, input, and cost. We collected those information in 2009, 2016, and 2019. So that made us could trace the change happened in those areas. And you could see some simple household information in 2015 data. You could see the land holding. Land holding is very small for Chinese farmers, and I want to tell you that Chinese rural land is not private. It belongs to the collective. The farmers in the villages have no ownership, but they have a contract right and a using right. And the land using right could be transferred to others. The land is equally allocated to villages according to the number of households. We call it household responsibility system. Because China has a huge populations, so different from Brazil, farm size in China is very small, mostly less than 1 hectare. You could see it in these tables. Some places, such as the Jiangxi and Anhui, the land size is a little bit larger, because in those areas land transfer is popular. And for the migration pattern, for the rural migrations, you can also that the rural migration rations is not changed too much since 2009, but actually because the rural migration happened since the early 1990s in China, so most migrants has returned to home, but now the next generation move out. So there's not too much change of the rural migration patterns. With the rural migrations, we could say the rural migration and wage. The local wage in peak seasons have double, tripled in the past 10 years. Sometimes the farmers will have labels for transplanting in rice, and the labor cost increased from nearly 60 or 80 yuan in 2009, but now it's nearly 200 yuan in 2019. And the low farm income became the main resource of the household income, nearly accounting about more than 70% of household income. So the agricultural work became less important. Those work mostly conducted by the old people in the household. We ever calculate the average age of the head of household is nearly 57. So the people working in the city, working in the agriculture sector, is old people. And for the the other things, for the agriculture, for rice productions, we could see dramatic change in past 10 years, such as the cropping patterns between the double season rice and single season rice. The double season rice means the farmers will cultivate twice for rice in one plot before, but now they just cultivate once. Now farmers don't want to spend more time on agriculture work, except the farm work is profitable. We ever focus on this topic in the research areas. We found in 2009 more than half of farmers cultivate double season rice, but now few farmers cultivate double season rice. And they also changed the tradition for transplanting. In 2009, most farmers transplant the seedling by hand. That means they need to breed seedling, but now they just broadcasting the seed into the field. Even this method will face high risk, but they will insist it. This is a big change, for rice farmer in China, because transplanting by hand has existed in China for nearly 2,000 years. And you could also see from these tables, the farmers use machine very popularly. Nearly 100% of farmers use machine for tillage and harvest. I could show you some pictures. This is the harvest machine, so you can see nearly most people they use the harvest machine. And I could also show some pictures. These pictures is collected seedling breedings, and they prepare for the transplanting machine. And these pictures is a machine transplanting with 0 tillages in the oilseed field in Hunan province. And this is a mid-size tractors, and its owners supply service for other farmers in Hubei. And also this is the harvest. Its owner supply service for other farmers in Hubei province. So we could and so after you could see the dramatic change for labor input in rice productions. In 2009, the farmers use nearly 10 man-days per mule for rice productions, but now in 2019, the labor input per mule it's mostly less than 2 man-days. So it's a huge change. Which the main drivers is for the farmers use machine in rice productions. So we could clearly see the dramatic change in rice production in China. Labor saving technology or cropping patterns is adopted under the background of rural migration, but we could say it's also change led by the rural migration. How to say, if we see it from micro levels, we could say yes. Increasing wage levels lead to increasing opportunity cost of rural labor, and the rural migration bridged the farmer sectors and no-farmer sectors. Farmers need to consider the profit or the income with their own resource. They didn't think the own consumption need is very important, because they could earn money to buy food from market, and actually the food price is not so high in China. And if for them the rice is enough for their own consumptions. But from the micro levels, it's hard to see. Farmers actually they successfully deal with the shortage of labor due to the rural migration. They use machine and labor saving technology to save labor. If they want to use more labor, they could hire with the expenditure for laborers, and those migrants who work in the city seldomly work in the agriculture sectors before they move to city. You could say that more than 70% of young people in the survey household didn't familiar with the agriculture work. So those migrants didn't change the rural labors in agriculture sector, and we also could say the only less than 20% of the survey households say that the young peoples will return to the rural to be a farmer in the future. So maybe it's impossible for them to do the farm work in the futures. And actually, with the rural migrations, we could see some very important social problems in the rural communities, such as left behind elderly and children, and also maintain the facility system or social security system. And the Chinese government has realized the lane, and so that they begin to do some policies such as the poverty alleviation since 2012, and also for the rural revitalization strategies since 2017. And we could also see some good things in agricultural sectors, such as the land transfer happened in nearly all research sites. As the land transferring for the land market was the environment of the market, large farmers appeared. This supplied the chance for the commercial farming, such as vegetable, crawfish industry, horticulture, and so on. Land size increasing also encouraged machine using, such as the drone and the harvest or the tillage machine. So we could conclude from our research side, the rural migration increased income from low farm sector, increased labor cost in agriculture. Or the labor opportunity cost for the farmers, and the farmers began to pursue income more than the food sufficiencies, which depend on how to use the land, labor and land, and labor cost increasing led to the mechanization in rice productions, which introduced the agricultural service market, also labor division in rural sectors, in rural societies. And so we could say the agricultural industry in China are experienced a transition from a subsistence-based industry to industrialized or commercialized industry. I think this is similar with the some development countries in the past. This basic driven is rural migration, I think. In the future, the profit and the efficiency will become more and more important. But the key, in fact, is the land market and the land property system development in China. How to change the peasant household to a farm household, just like those things happened in the developing countries. So these things I want to share with you. Thanks for your listening and welcome your suggestions. Thank you.